Hello, grade 1 students. This is the elementary math specialists in Franklin, and we have a fun game we want to show you how to play today called Fill the Stairs. This is a great game to play with a sibling that is about the same age as you or older, or you can play it with a grown-up. The materials that you're going to need are a sheet of paper. Each player is going to need their own sheet of paper, a pencil, or you could use a pen, a marker, a colored pencil, whatever you have. And you're going to need two piles of number cards with 0 through 9 as your digits. You can use regular playing cards. You can use 10-sided dice, although a lot of people don't have that at their house. You can also just make your own digits out of a sheet of scrap paper. So I went looking through some materials we had at my house, and we had a board game called Sequence, and I just used the cards right from that game. So I have two piles, and they each have the numbers 0 through 9. For the number 0, we were using the queen card in the deck. So if you have a queen, that's like a 0. And for the number 1, we were using the ace card. So queen and ace helped us get all of our digits. The first thing you want to do is have each player create their own staircase. So you're going to label a 0 on the bottom step and a 100 on the top step, and there are 9 steps in between. So you have to kind of make your own staircase. That's really fast and easy to do. So each player will have their own. When we were setting this up to show how to play, we decided to put a folder in between so that player 1 was not able to see player 2's board, so they could kind of keep their boards separate. We have our cards at the top that we're going to use to create our 2-digit numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to be pulling one digit from each of those piles, and that will give us a 2-digit number. And each player is going to place that 2-digit number somewhere on their staircase, wherever they want to. The only rule is that numbers that are higher on the staircase have to be larger than that number, and numbers that are lower on the staircase have to be smaller than that number. So after our first turn, the number that we created was 62. So both player 1 and player 2 are going to place the number 62 on their staircase. So remember, wherever you place the number 62, you have to remember that numbers that are higher on the stairs have to be greater than 62, and numbers that are lower on the stairs have to be smaller than 62. So after this round, both player 1 and player 2 had placed the number 62 in the same spot on their boards. They did not know that at this point in the game because they weren't able to see each other's game boards. After a few rounds while we were playing and placing other numbers on our staircase, player 1 was not able to place the number that we had drawn from our cards on the staircase. So the number we created was 6. And we got 6 because in our tens digit, we had pulled a queen, which meant 0. And in our ones digit, we had flipped over a 6. So we had 0 tens and 6 ones, which makes the number 6. Player 1 was not able to place that on the game board because there is not any space for it, because there's 0 on the bottom step and 12 on the first step, and 6 would come in between those two numbers. So player 1 had to write the number 6 underneath the stairs. Player 2, however, was able to place the number 6 on the game board. You can see at this point in time that their game boards look different. So they have some different strategies that they're using. A little farther down in the game, this is what the game boards look like. Both player 1 and player 2 have 2 stairs that they're looking to fill, but the numbers that they need to fill those stairs are different. Both players are looking for a number that would come in between 62 and 87, but player 1 is missing a number between 56 and 62, where player 2 is hoping for a number between 6 and 12. So as we kept playing, this is what the game boards looked like. And a few turns later, you'll see that player two ended up winning the game because they were able to fill the stairs before player one. So all those numbers written underneath the staircase were not able to be placed on the board, but player two was the winner as they were able to get their staircase filled up before player one. This is a really fast game. You could play it a bunch of different times. All you have to do is redraw a new staircase and start over again. Some questions that you can ask while you're playing this game is, where are you going to put that number? Why would you put it there? So you can kind of get your kids to talk a little bit about some strategies that they're using as they're deciding where to place these numbers on this staircase. And they're talking about comparing the two numbers and looking for something that's larger than another number or smaller than a number that they may have. Another question is, what number are you hoping for on your next turn? So you may hear some of your kids say something like, I'm hoping for a number in the 70s. So they can sort of look at the range that they have, the numbers on their staircase, and think about what's missing in between. Another question, how do you know that number was bigger or smaller than that one? So that's where they can start to explain how they're comparing the numbers, looking at the amount of tens the number might have, looking at the amount of ones the number might have. Did your strategy change as you played the game? Especially if you play the game a few times in a row, you might start to see that the kids' strategies are changing as they're playing. And what's the best way to win the game? There isn't really a right answer to that question, but it is always interesting for students to verbalize how they think they can win the game and what their plan is as they're playing. Another resource that you can check out is our Franklin Math website. I put the link at the bottom here. There is a first grade tab that has different activities you can do at home. There's also a tab all the way to the right called Keeping Learning Alive that has some other resources that you can use at home with your kids that are appropriate, board games and picture books and just things around the house that you can do. And just remember that math is everywhere. There's a lot of math in your everyday routines that you're doing at home all the time. And you can just talk about that and highlight some of the math that already goes on in your everyday lives. Be on the lookout for some more fun activities. Thank you, first graders.